up in Hong Kong, I've always found it fascinating to see stores closed here in London in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, and still be able to pay rent and be in business. I liked the patterns on the floor. I was shooting on a 24mm and so the video lens wasn't quite wide enough to show you what it looks like in camera. So here are some panned footages, for now. This is what I would classify as a trap photo. It looks like an interesting place at first glance, but really, it is quite hard to make it look actually interesting. These look quite cute. The thing with graffiti is that they are here today and gone tomorrow. Seldom this early on my photo hauls, to the extent that the exchange store has not opened. So I had to take a shot. I will not, otherwise, see this reflected sign inside the store with this light. Some months ago, July was, I think, there was a chess festival in London where they set up life-size chessboards for chess lovers to play. I think I'm safe to assume that it looked exactly just like this. I'm not sure what they're doing here, but they deserve a photo anyway. At this point was hitting from a rather low angle. This meant that I could very likely get some intense, warm light passing through the store windows, just to get some interesting abstract soul lighter style shots. recently you might have noticed that I have really been experimenting a lot and of course enjoying shooting on expired film, and this has partly begun because of a parcel sent by Rowan and Riley from the US containing a bunch of expired film and this camera here. And in that box also came this roll of Kodak GOLD 100, which I believe is no longer in production today. Now, the interesting bit about this roll is that we didn't know exactly what the conditions were for this film because they have not tested it before sending it to me. So it really was down to me to rate it at whatever ISO that I see fit. I decided to rate it at 20, which is as far as this camera could go. If you do the calculations, it is now 2021. The film was expired in 2003. So 2021 deducted by that is it's like 17 years. 17 years. No, 18, sorry. It's 18 years. It's been 18 years since the film expired, and to play safe, I'll round that up to 20, which means that you'll have to expose it by 2 more stops. So it was originally rated at 100, that means 25, but then, I don't know, since we are all the way down there, down to the 20s, might as well just go with 20. And so that's what I decided to do, which in my opinion is a fabulous decision. But as with everything, there's always a downside to it. So the main issue of rating a film so low, it's that you might end up having to go with shutter speeds that are way slower than what you can practically handle. So in this case, many of those shots were actually shot at 1/60th of a second. That I know is my limit for hand-holding DSLRs of this size. I certainly cannot do the same on my TLR, but that's for another story. So in this case, I definitely had to edge towards my limits, so it was still manageable. Many of these shots that I shot through the windows were actually taken on 1/60th or 1/90th of a second. This camera definitely has some pretty unconventional shutter stops, but either way it worked. Looking at these photos, some of those highlights might have been overexposed, though you technically cannot overexpose film to an extent where it gets not usable. But some of these highlights do seem blown out. Personally, it's fine for me. I don't mind having slight overexposures in my shots, so if you think that hand-holding a camera at 1/60th of a second would be a bit of a stretch, then maybe you could tune it down a little bit and go for something like an ISO of 32, which is again a very weird stop that I have on this camera. But the idea that I'm hoping to get across is what you can realistically get with a decently stored roll of film rated at 100 initially and expired for 20 years by rating it at 20, which I acknowledge is pretty specific, but it's going to help. I'm sure it's going to help. So as usual, all of the shots will be lined up in the slideshow at the back. Once again, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next Saturday. Bye!